Hello, and welcome to Earthing Live. We're going to get started here in about 3 minutes. Welcome to those of you joining us on Zoom, YouTube, Facebook. Get your questions ready and we'll get started in just a second. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started here in about a minute. Get your questions ready for Clint Ober. He's joining us today to answer all of your earthing and grounding questions. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Earthing Live, where we meet every Monday at 3:30 to answer your questions about earthing and grounding. Just a quick reminder before we get started, anything that we talk about here is not meant to replace the advice of your doctor or your healthcare practitioner. Please always consult with your healthcare provider before making any adjustments to your medication or recommended health routine. Well, welcome everyone. All of you out there joining us on YouTube and Facebook and Zoom. I am joined here with Mr. Clint Ober. How are you today?
I'm real good, Jennifer. How are you?
Good. We have our customer service department helping me out in the background. So they're there to help facilitate this webinar. But if you have any general customer service questions, such as placing an order, tracking an order, that type of thing, you can contact them at help@earthing.com. You can also visit earthing.com directly for live chat features, all of our phone numbers, all that good stuff. All right, I feel like it's been a little while since we, since you and I were on this call. We had a holiday last week.
Yep, we had a nice holiday.
Well, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mr. Ober, he is our founder and CEO over here at earthing.com. He discovered earthing and grounding the human body can improve how we feel. And he's been working for the past 25 years trying to further the science and educate the world about the importance of being connected with the earth. So just a quick reminder on how you can submit your questions. If you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, you can put your question into the comment section and that will get to me. If you're joining us on Zoom, please make sure you submit your question in the Q&A section. There is a chat feature and I usually don't see that. So make sure you get those questions into the Q&A portion of Zoom. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Our first question here is coming from Janet on YouTube. And she says, my ground tester reads grounded on an outlet receptacle that doesn't have a ground wire connected to it. Is the receptacle actually grounded?
Please read that again because I got lost.
So she says her ground tester reads grounded on an outlet that doesn't have a ground wire connected to it. So maybe she has the outlet checker.
I think if we're talking about the outlet checker or the ground product tester.
That's actually a really good question. Maybe Janet, you can clarify that. Are you using the outlet checker that you directly plug into the outlet and it has lights that light up on it? Or are you using the product tester, which has like a wire that you plug in and all of that? I think she's using the outlet checker.
Okay, the outlet checker. The only way an outlet checker can test grounded if it is, if there's no ground wire going to it, is the ground portion. I mean, the ground terminal on the outlet is connected to the neutral, and the neutral goes to the grounded bus bar.
Okay. All right. We have another question from YouTube. Are there more electrons when it is wet or raining?
I would say that there's not necessarily more, but what there are can move faster. It's like when you go to the beach after, and the surf is welling up and there's, you can smell the air ions at the beach because they're in the air. And what that means is you can smell the ozone. So it's just a more balanced, like a positive versus negative charge carriers in the air.
Very good. Okay. Firelight says, good day, happy to be here. Fun question. What's with the Sedona energy vortexes? Is it a super ground?
Well, I'm not really sure. I lived there for about 2 years, and I just went there. I ended up by accident there and liked it so much I just stayed there for a couple of years, and then I discovered grounding, and then I've been on this other chase for a long time. But while I was in Arizona, I asked similar questions about the vortexes, and from what I understand, it's like there's 81 vortexes in the world, and 800 of them are in Sedona. So nobody knows. I don't know. It's just a fun thing. There's a lot of iron ore there, and so there would be possibly a more conductive, from the Earth's magnetic field. But I don't really know, other than it's a lot of fun.
Okay, my next question is from Anne. The Autoseat mat, does it actually ground you? Are you grounded only when the car is driving or even when you're just sitting in it?
It would be grounded 100% of the time because you're grounded to the chassis. And the chassis is like a couple thousand pounds of metal or maybe 4,000 pounds of metal. And your body weighs, 100 pounds, 200 pounds. And so being that it's significantly larger than you are, then it reduces charge on your body. Yes.
Very good. Okay, this next question is about a person who is sleeping naked on their blanket, but they have no relief. And by blanket, I'm wondering if they mean the sleep mat, or I hope they mean the sleep mat or the mattress cover, but if they say blanket, they might mean a sheet that's not ours.
Or a throw.
Yeah.
If they're sleeping directly on the conductive portion of it, then, and they're not getting any relief whatsoever, then first thing I would do is I would test the system, make sure that it is grounded, make sure the outlet's grounded, make sure that the cord is working. That's what those little white testers that come with them are for. And, but make sure your system is working, because if your system is working, you're going to feel something, especially if you're sleeping in the nude.
And we recommend always testing your products with a product tester.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, test the product, and if everything tests out perfectly and you're not getting any benefit whatsoever, then please come back to us.
Yeah. Our customer service department is usually very good at troubleshooting that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's about patches. Where do we place ground patches for high blood pressure?
Okay, high blood pressure. The sleeping with the patches on the bottom of your feet is probably the best thing to do. And you might have to wear socks to hold them on. During the day, if you're talking about just patches, putting them then on the palm of the hands will calm the body down. The blood pressure is, it's just what the word says, pressure, on the system, on the body. So, the person is stressed or in a chronically elevated sympathetic state, elevated cortisol, and so on. So there's pressure, the person's being pressured. And so anyhow, anything you can do to relieve anxiety and tension and stress, environmental stress, that'll help also. But just patches alone, probably the palm of the hand or the bottom of the feet.
Very good. And on that note, I have another question here about where can you place the patches for anxiety? And I assume it would be the same answer.
Well, I wish we had graphs. Like when we did one of our first studies that Gaetan Chevalier worked on, we took electrode patches and we put them on the trapezius muscles, just right here on the back of the neck and the shoulder. And what we saw instantly is everybody's trapezius muscles were tense and tight. And as soon as we grounded them, then there was like I don't know how to illustrate it, but anyhow, they had a very tight, narrow electrical band. And then as soon as we grounded them, then all of a sudden the electrical band jumped up, and then it had lots of variability, meaning lots of movement. And so that was like releasing tension. So that's releasing anxiety. Now, anxiety, that's not releasing anxiety is mental. So something in your environment, something in your life, something, there's some stress, and that's creating elevated cortisol, exhausting the adrenals, creating further problems, and so on and so on. So anxiety is generally it's about people wanting something they can't achieve or can't have or lost something, or it can cover a big range of things. But anxiety is, coming to terms of dealing with, I'm not the best person to answer this right now, but the best thing for anxiety is to walk barefoot outdoors in the grass, or to sit in the grass with your hands and your feet on the grass with some sunshine shining on you, and maybe listen to some of your favorite music. That might help more than anything. But by putting the patches on the trapezius muscles, that are the muscles right here back on your shoulder, or right on the back of the neck where your muscles are coming out of your neck, those might be good areas to try. But I think sometimes it's just putting it in the palm of your hand and just sitting there, and do it with both hands if you can. Any and all of the above. I hope that all those comments were worth something.
Yeah. Okay, I have a good question here. This person says, I've had a profound improvement in sleeping grounded. Thank you for all that you've done for human health. I dislocated my shoulder and have 2 muscle tears. I've been using the patches on my shoulder, and I wrap the body band under my armpit and around my shoulder to keep the patch in place. So 2 questions. 1, can I keep reusing the patch once the sticky, clear adhesive material rolls into a ball? How long should the patches last?
As long as that little ball is there, or the adhesive, you should be able to continue to use it. They are designed for single-use patches, meaning you can put them on the body in one spot and leave them there for up to 2 or 3 days. but after that, you need to move them from one spot to another so you don't become allergic to them.
Mhm.
But they'll, people tape them on, people do all kinds of things with them. As far as long as, as long as you have enough sticky left, it should work.
Okay. And the second part of their question is, have you seen people heal from a dislocated shoulder with grounding? I really do not want to have surgery.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we work with a lot of athletes, and sometimes the tears are so bad, they have to go in and reattach things and clean things up. But what I would do based on what I have done over the years with athletes is generally if it's in the right shoulder, then I generally have them put a patch on the palm of their hand and then a patch on something on top of the shoulder area. So that way there's a good flow of electrons going throughout, because electrons are carried primarily on your blood and through your other networks in the body, but it's the blood that feeds the electrons to area. If you have chronic pain, then that means there's inflammation there. So you definitely want to keep a patch. That's what the one on the hand is for, is to make sure the blood stays negative. And but anyhow, I would put one up here, this portion of the shoulder, and one on the palm of my hand. And yes, we've seen miracles with. The body is a self-healing mechanism. What you have to do, first of all, is shut down the inflammation, and that's oxidative stress or burning pain, hot burning pain, what you would normally take a Vicodin for, or that kind of a drug. Below that, you have without the oxidative pain or the inflammation, you'll have a subtle pain. The subtle pain is there to tell you to leave me alone, let me heal. And so you just need to get comfortable at night and make sure that there's no pain, and then the body can heal and recover. And I think you try it for a while, and if you get results, that's great. You do have to work it out. You do have to stretch. You do have to rehabilitate. But you have to, at some point, if it doesn't recover, then you may have done more damage than you think. Otherwise, if it's just a stretch and it's not torn loose, then yes, the body will heal up and recover it by itself.
All right. This person is asking about winter in Canada. I've just started grounding, and I usually place my feet into the grass, and I don't know how to ground in nature in the winter. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, that's one of the reasons that we ended up having to develop all these little products, like the Unimat, the sleep mats, and the pillow mats, all those things, and the patches. The only other thing you can do in Canada, it gets pretty rough sometimes. I grew up in Montana, so I know. But anyhow, you can, move the snow away, water the soil down a little bit, and get a little contact with earth there. But sometimes it's so cold that you can't really do it for long. The only other thing you can do is go to the basement. If you have a basement that has, a non-sealed floor, or if it's a concrete basement floor, that'll be ground just like outdoors. Other than that, if you have an older type home with metal pipes, then you can take a warm bath. That will be like getting grounded, because the pipes are conductive, water's conductive, and then the drains and everything on the older homes are conductive. The newer homes that are all plastic, they're a little rough. I don't think those are grounding. Other than that, cold water faucet is connected to ground. There's electrons there. Cold water has plenty of electrons in it, or water does if it's coming out of a faucet. Other than that, you just have to be creative. You can do it yourself things. You can buy products. Even just a simple Unimat would be a lifesaver for you.
Okay, this next question. I am wondering if they actually have our product. So I'm gonna read you what they're saying. I recently purchased the earthing sheets and had several family members try them. Been using them for 2 weeks. Initially, I experienced very itchy eyes and a lot of sneezing, but the itchy eyes have become less frequent, but I'm still sneezing. My daughter's having skin eruptions on her neck and arms from the sheets. We're both thinking it might be related to a detox and hope it gets better. She had her father try the sheets and he ended up with itchy eyes, sneezy, and itchy skin. And he ended up having to take the sheets off his bed. So maybe you can speak a little bit to, people who sell. I know there's a lot of knockoffs out there. So my concern to this person's watching us on Facebook, is I think you definitely need to contact our customer service department and confirm that you did buy them from us, because we do not sell sheets. We sell mattress covers and sleep mats and pillow covers, but we don't have actual like sheeting material at this time.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say without knowing exactly what it is. But there are hundreds of people that knock us off in China, and those products are flooded all over the world. And some of them are okay, some of them are questionable. We just really can't speak to it unless we know exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's my concern, is that you don't actually have one of our products. So definitely reach out to our customer service department and we'll be able to help
Yeah, for what it's worth,
figure that out.
and for what it's worth, we have millions of these mats and sleep mats and mattress covers out in the market, and we've never had any report of anything like that.
I've never heard of that either.
No.
Okay. Next question. I heard that more surface area for earthing is beneficial. Is this true?
Well, if you're talking about holding a copper wire in your fingers, and that being one, a lot of guys that think, well, that grounds my whole body, and in a sense it does. But because I'm from the communications industry, and what we try to do in grounding is we try to create a ground plane or a shield, and the bigger it is, the better, because the more power it has. So when you're connecting a wire to the earth, and then coming up that wire is two things: a flow of electrons equal to the amount of opposite or positive charge on the other end of it, and then the other thing is the Earth's electric field. I mean, the Earth has its own energy field. So, and so anyhow, the bigger, the reason we create these grounded mats for the bed is because it's like bringing, 6 feet by 5 feet or 6 square feet of earth and putting it in your bed. And it's like laying, outdoors on the earth. And so what's happening there is the Earth's electric field is radiating from that ground plane, mattress pad, and then you're laying on it. So then your body is, absorbing and resonating, close coupling and resonating with Earth's frequencies or resonance. You're resonating with the Earth frequencies, and we know that that has an effect on hormone cascades and you just feel better, you sleep better, all those things. And it has more power to push away electrical noise in your environment, whether it's, just electrical noise. It's a big bucket of stuff. But in your home, it's probably fluorescent lighting, the EMFs and so on. It helps to be grounded and push those things away from you. That's what happens. Because when you're connected to the earth on these pads, you are one and the same with the earth. You're a part of the earth at that time. You're electrically a part of the earth, so you're as large as the earth. And so these noises and these environmental things, the earth can push them away. So anyhow, bring me back on target. I got carried off into resident vacancies. So it's
more
about
surface area.
Yeah, more surface area. More surface area is better. That's all I can tell you. I was trying to put some reasoning behind it. any kind of grounding, any amount of grounding is going to be beneficial. It's like a little patch, we can put it on the body. But the reason the patch is so effective is because on the surface of your skin, that's dead skin. Nothing, you can't conduct anything through dead skin unless there's some open pores there. That's why when you do an EKG or anything, they have to put those electrode patches on you, connect the wires so they can actually get a signal, because the signal, it's hard for it to get through the dermis and where the dead skin lays. And so when you put a patch on, there's the moisture in the gel that's on the patch. I mean, that breaks through the dead skin, and that way, it's like you have really good contact. And then that normal, it's just more powerful. And then all the blood that comes by that area, it automatically gets, picks up a negative charge. And every couple of minutes, your blood is every minute it goes through your entire system. But after a couple, 3 or 4 minutes, then you've had enough circulation that negative charges being spread throughout your body, which helps. But anyhow, for sleeping and just in nature, you'll be outdoors, you're standing on a ground, you're living in a ground plane, a large ground plane, and you feel better. If you're underneath of a tree that's got green leaves on it, you can feel that you're more grounded because now you got surround ground. You got ground up on top of you and ground below you. I mean, it's just more ground is always better.
Excellent. Are there AC currents running through the grounding mat?
No, it's not possible for an AC current to run through a grounding mat. At earthing.com, we have a couple, 3 or 4 papers on this. There are a lot of, certain people who make a living selling EMF mitigation devices and come to your home and charge you $1,000 or $2,000 to come in and measure your EMF frequencies. These people are, many of them make comments about, well, you can't get grounded because grounding, sucks the EMF out of the air and it goes through the pad and down to the earth. It's absolutely untrue. When you connect the pad to the earth, what happens is the ground wire goes to the earth and it comes up, however it's coming, whether it's the electrical wire or whether it's a ground out outdoors, then it goes to the pad. So the pad, the only thing in the universe, only thing in the entire universe it can do is equalize with the earth. It can't conduct any current because there's no wire on the other end of the pad going anywhere. The only way you can get a current to go through an earthing pad is you have to connect one wire on one side of the pad and then go connect another wire on the other side of the pad, bring one in from one side of your house, run the other side out the other side of your house. Then you can have what would be called a ground current, but you will never in your lifetime have an AC current run through an earthing mat. But for more information on that, go to Earthing Institute and look up, misinformation about grounding.
Helene is building a home of which the foundation will be cement. How can I ground the cement so that when I walk barefoot throughout the house, including on the tile, that I'll still be grounded?
Okay, well, first of all, if you have a grounded floor, or foundation, a concrete foundation, and that is your floor, then it is grounded because it has metal rebar running crisscrossed all throughout the concrete. Before they pour the concrete, they tie a whole bunch of rebar, metal bars together to give it strength for the concrete to hold together so it won't crack and break. And that rebar is connected to the earth just by the fact that the concrete is laying on the earth, and the concrete is mineral, of the earth. So it is, as long as it holds any amount of moisture, which all concrete and all rocks do hold certain amounts of moisture, then it will be conductive. So what I would recommend, and what I have done in the past, is you go in and just, rather than put down carpet and tile and all those things, just go have them polish the concrete. And so you get a nice, smooth, glassine type finish. And then you put a water-based sealer on it. And then You can tint it, and they have all kinds of colorful patterns they can put on it that are kind of an acid base, but when they shut that down, then shut the acid coloring down, then they clean it and put the water-based sealer on it, and it's beautiful. It's very in vogue in high-end homes. And so anyhow, then you're 100% grounded no matter what you do in your house, because you would be right on earth. So, but if you are going to put tile, if you're using glass tile, baked tile, it's non-conductive, it's like glass. If you're using earthen tile, meaning different kinds of stone, slate, and even some of the saltillo tiles, which are the Mexican type tiles, even though they're baked, they're still similarly, I mean, more conductive. But the main thing is when you lay that stone or that tile down, you have to use an earthen grout. Today, most tiles are laid with they put a plastic glue on the floor and put the tile on top of that, and the glue insulates it from contact with the cement, so it's not conductive. So you have to use a concrete, the older type concrete, to set your tiles on the floor, and then you have to use concrete grout to fill in the seams, and then you have a nice conductive floor, like in nature. If you have any opportunity to do it, I'd highly recommend you do it, because it is life-changing. Living in a home where you're grounded all the time in bare feet, it is absolutely stunningly life-changing.
Okay, Connie has a question regarding the pillow cover. Will it still be effective if a silk pillowcase is over it?
Well, I would have to say you have to check it with your tester to make sure. But when you put your face on the pillow at night, if you just lay there for like 30 seconds or a minute, you pick your head up, put your hand down there, you'll feel a little bit of moisture already. There's lots of perspiration on your face and on your skin, so that's going to hydrate the silk pillowcase. If it's actual silk, that's one thing. It'll be more conductive. If it's like a polyester type silk, I mean synthetic silk, then it may not be as conductive, but it should be conductive. I mean, but not only that, when you lay on that pillowcase, it's not just the electrons coming in and make you look 10 years younger and things like that. It's it's about the resonant frequency. I mean, it's the earth frequencies. Mm-hmm. You're putting your head on the earth, and so it's calming. It's more calming. Pushes away the electric field noise, but it's more your whole body is just humming with the earth, singing with the earth. So either way, you can test it if you've got a tester. If not, try to get one, and then just experiment. Just how you feel. For years we sold a lot of product, and people didn't have ways of testing it except for the people who are experts at EMF voltmeters, which usually takes a person about a year to learn how to do that. But once you, but the thing we always tell everybody is if you have pain, you are not well grounded, or your products are not working them, or they're not plugged in, or you don't have a good ground. If you have pain, because if you ground yourself well with a mat and a pillowcase, for instance, then you're well grounded. You can't have pain and inflammation in a grounded body. And a lot of people are going to say, well, I grounded all the time and I still have pain. But most of the time, people, some people are grounded like 6 to 8 hours at night, and they're stressed out because of their day, their life and work, and they're not whatever. But anyhow, so they get up in the morning, they feel really good, and then about 10 o'clock, all of a sudden they start going downhill. And over the years, we learned that you have to be, to completely recover, you have to be grounded more than you're not grounded. Because in nature, your body was grounded 24/7. And throughout eons of time, we were grounded 24/7. It's only been 100 years or less for most people that we lost contact with the earth.
All right. is it possible, we have a lot of questions along this line, is it possible to ground a whole house so we can benefit from decreased body voltage throughout the home rather than only at tethered ports?
Yes. And like in Palm Springs, there's half a dozen of them that I know of that we've helped with. The first thing you do is, if you're building a house, tell them you want shielded wiring, you want metal clad conduit, or you want to buy shielded Romax. And what that is, it's regular electrical wiring, but it has a wrap around it. It's aluminum. And then it's wherever they connect it to an outlet, they also connect it to the ground of the outlet. And so if you do that in your whole house, then you will have no electric fields coming from the wiring in your walls. The only electric fields you will have then are the cords that are plugged in to outlets, like a lamp cord going to, a lamp is plugged in. That will radiate electric fields. Hair dryers or anything electrical, TV sets, but again, you're not close to them. It's usually the lamps by the bed, the clocks by the bed, the cords that feed the clocks, the cords that feed the lamps, the cords that feed the chargers, those kind of things. So then what some people do is they get a metal clad tubing, and you can put your wiring inside of it. But most people won't go to the trouble. I think it's available at Home Depot. Metal clad tubing. But that's the best thing to do is unplug your lamps. Like in Europe and lots of countries, you plug your toaster in and toast your bread, and then you unplug it. You plug your iron in and you unplug it. You don't leave cords energized. But in America, nobody would ever give it a second thought. They plug something in the day they buy it, and they don't unplug it until they discard it or whatever. So, but yes, you can, metal clad wiring is one of the better ways. You can also put up, you have aluminum foil on one side of the insulation. Generally, it's in your home. That is conductive in many cases. A lot of the wallboard has conductive aluminum on one side is for fire protection, but it's also, if you put a ground on it or tape a ground to it, then it's also conductive. So you can actually create a Faraday cage in your home primarily, but you won't have, you can eliminate almost all electric fields. In fact, in clean rooms, you have to. These are environments that have a lot of computers working, functioning, or in any communication facility, they have to be shielded. And you have walls that are, copper or some kind of a screening, reflective devices. But I'm not sure how to go too much further with this, but your floors, just ground them. There is industrial type conductive carpeting. There's conductive tiles. There's conductive. They're little industrial for some people, but your health is more important than any of that stuff. So, but a concrete floor, polished, stained and polished, is beautiful, and it's the number one health thing you could do for yourself in your home, because then you don't need to worry about the wiring and stuff. So I can go on and on. If you wanted to get specific, I could share information, but I don't have time to write about it much anymore. But yeah, that would be fun to do. It's really, one thing about a home, when you do shield it, you do all these things, when you walk into it, it's like walking into a cool cave because there's no noise, and you have that coolness that comes over your body, where otherwise you have all these, just electrically charged air, and you can feel it on your body. You can't feel it because you're used to it. But if you go into a place where it's grounded and it's gone, then it's like taking a sigh of relief. It's like that. And grounding your home, shielding your home. If you're going to have a lot of electrical stuff inside, then absolutely. And in the meantime, reduce all of the electrical cords that you don't use, especially those under the bed and around the bed.
Okay, are there health effects? Are the health effects the same when an earthing pad is attached to a car battery, which has no electron flow, versus being grounded to the actual earth?
Say that one more time.
Sure. So when you're connecting an earthing pad to the car battery, are the health benefits the same as when you're connected to the earth?
No, not a possibility. When you're connected to a 12-volt battery, on the negative side, it's at 12 volts, but you can't take those electrons away from the mat or the battery because those belong to the battery. And the only way they will leave the positive side, the negative side of the battery, is you have to connect it to the positive side of the battery. And it's a little challenging to explain that one, but you can't take electrons away from a battery. You can only pass them from the negative to the positive or vice versa. And as they go around, that's how the light gets lit or the motor turns or whatever. But you can't take those away and put them in your body and keep them. You may put one in here and it'll come out over here, but you can't keep that electron.
Okay, I have Patricia on YouTube asking, where do you buy all these items that people are talking about? So we do have a website, earthing.com, where you can find all of our sleep mats, our universal mats, product testers, all that good stuff.
And the best thing to do if you're new is get one of the starter kits.
Okay. So Linda says, I bought some of my family grounding cords for their earthing products. I think she means ground rods. What do they do when it starts raining? Does the rain affect the cord that's in the ground?
No, because the cord on the electrical is also in the ground. It would have there's no effect. It'd be good.
Okay. Marcus, I get great benefits from earthing, but I always feel extremely fatigued, weak, sick, irritable, etc. before the benefits manifest. Is this normal? Will it go away?
I don't understand. If the person, yes, okay, I think I grasp it. If during the day you get run down and you don't feel good and whatever, then you get grounded and then you start recovering and feeling better. So what you have to do is what I mentioned earlier. You probably need to spend more time grounded than not, meaning 12 hours a day grounded. Because if you have issues, if your health is challenged and you don't have good health, then you need to get grounded more. You need to spend more time grounded than not grounded until you fully recover. And because what's happening here is recovering at night, but not fully recovering, and then going back to the day to a routine or something possibly. I don't know if I'm totally on target on this one or not, but so it's like the MS girls who they first get grounded and they have a miraculous recovery until about 10 o'clock in the morning, then they start going downhill. But if you can keep them grounded until 12 or 2 in the afternoon, then all of a sudden they're jump and skip, or skipping jump ropes.
All right, let's see. Aha, so Marcus is saying that we misunderstood his question. He actually gets fatigued by grounding. Why is this?
Oh, fatigue would mean when you get fatigued, that means your body's in recovery. I mean, the body wants to shut down so it can repair and rebuild and recover. Mm-hmm. The grounding itself should not fatigue you. What it's doing, if this is, I'm assuming that you're rather new to grounding, that you haven't been grounding for a year. But I'm assuming that you're doing whatever you do and you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and you're still groggy and still, fatigued, that means that you're in recovery to me. That's what I often would refer that to. But again, more grounding time will probably help get more, less recovery needed every night. There's a period of time where everybody goes through where the first thing you do when you start getting grounded is you put the fire out. You reduce the inflammation in your body. And because oftentimes that's years of damage and years of buildup, that it takes you, the body recovers quite quickly, but first of all, you shut the inflammation down and that stops, then the immune system can rebuild and start repairing the damage that was created by the oxidation. And then it can go back to returning the body to normal. And beyond that, you need sunlight, food, water, a little bit of exercise, breath, and life should be good.
Okay, I have severe stiffness and joint pain in my hips. Do I put the patches in my hands at night or on my hips?
I would put them on the bottom of the feet. The joints are in the hip. Read that to me again, please.
Sure, they have stiffness and pain in their hips, and they want to know if where they should put the patches, in their hands or on their hips.
I would start out by putting them on the bottom of the feet, especially if you have two. That would be great. Put one on each foot. They'll get tangled up. No big deal. But put socks on in order to keep them on all night. And then in the morning, you take them off and untangle your cord. Do it again, and just see what happens. The first night you should be able to tell. You should be able to feel something rather dramatic. And then, but again, something's causing this, so please look at what's causing it also and try to reduce the stress. But the feed will be best.
Okay. David on Zoom has a question about being in the ocean. Since it circumvents the Earth with water and therefore is globally conductive,
yep.
Do you receive more or stronger electrons rather than just standing on the grass, which is only limited at a certain longitude and latitude?
Well, standing on the Earth, whether there's grass or just sand or whatever, as long as there's dirt and earth, that is soil, that is conductively connected to the rest of the planet, then you are going to be grounded. If you get in the ocean, you have, the ocean is more, let's say it's not more grounded, it is in the sense that it's more conductive because of the salt content. And so you're probably more well grounded in the ocean because you also have moisture, and that's helping penetrate the dry skin and the dead skin layer. And so the ocean is better. I'm not going to argue with that at all. But keep in mind, if your health is very compromised, then all the grounding you can get and the more of it you can get, the better off you're going to be in the shorter period of time. But by and large, we're talking about a human being that weighs 100 pounds to some number above that. And so when you stand barefoot on the earth, then you're going to absorb all the electrons you need in order to maintain health. I don't care if you're standing in the middle of the desert in Palm Springs or in Death Valley, because even in Death Valley, if you dig down a few inches, there's moisture in the sand. But you don't want to misconstrue that and say that, well, you have to do the ocean or not. They're all good. I mean, they're all essential. All life can, if it's extremely hot, you don't want to be there because that'll exhaust your hydration and mess up your minerals and everything else. But by and large, ocean is great. If you have the chance, you can do it. I highly recommend it. If you don't, then the grass and the dirt and everything else is just fine. And do what a lot of people do. I mean, go out and build yourself a little sandbox and put some nice sand in it, or you can buy the sand at Home Depot, get the finer sand, and then just sprinkle a little water on it with a hose at night, and then come take your easy chair and put your feet in it, pretend you're at the beach. I guarantee you, you're going to feel like $1,000,000 afterwards.
Okay, Michelle just recently found out she has chronic Lyme. She says, I do not want to ground on the grass. I'm afraid of getting reinfected by a tick. How can I create a grounding area in my backyard without grass? Will stone or rock work?
Yes, your back porch with the concrete, depending on where you live, it should be well, hydrated, meaning there's lots of humidity and moisture content in the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
If you put your feet on the concrete, you pick your feet up and you notice there's a wet spot there, that means it's probably pretty dry and it's sucking water out of your body. So what you may want to do is just spray the water down. You don't have to drown it, just spray some moisture around on the concrete and then go put your feet on it and you're well grounded. You're perfectly grounded. So then, and maybe rock, depending on that, but I would say the backyard patio is probably the best. Otherwise, go build yourself a sandbox and put the sandbox on the grass, so that take a little portion of your yard and just build a little sandbox and then take a chair and go out every day. Spend enough time in it until you feel good, till you get your life back.
All right. Can you explain the actual mechanism of how grounding supports the reduction of inflammation? How exactly does it work? Good one. We haven't had that in a while.
Great question. I've been doing this for 25 years, and for 20 of those years, that's all I ever talked about was, well, how does it work? It's a long story. It takes time, but anyhow, I'll do a short version here. Basically, if you have inflammation in your body, if you have pain in your body, first of all, then you have inflammation. If you do not have health, then generally you're full of inflammation, and that inflammation is, oxidizing tissue and creating damage and setting you up for a lot of problems. But inflammation, we have to go back to before 1960, 1950. Before then, most people we wore either barefoot or we wore leather-soled shoes. And autoimmune diseases were like 1 in 10,000 on the average back in those days, like autism, lupus, MS, all of these things, and a lot of the cancers and so on. But over the last 60, 70 years, it's like autism is 1 in 60 or 50 or 30 now, I don't know. The same with lupus, MS, and cancer. Now 50% of the population dies from cancer. Another 50% on the average dies from cardiovascular disease, inflammation-related cardiovascular disease. What happens with inflammation, when you're grounded, your body is flooded with free electrons. It maintains a negative charge, and the negative charge is somewhere negative 20 millivolts, could be negative 200 millivolts, depending on where you are. But you have a negative charge, or it's negative, meaning, and the word negative means there's no charge, and it means there's an abundance of free electrons that can move and can move rapidly to reduce charge. That's the only thing they do. The ground. So everything electrical is connected to the earth for that reason, to prevent fire, to prevent electrical events and so on. You ground everything to the earth, so there's an abundance of free electrons that can come immediately and trip a breaker or do whatever. So what happened was in 1960 we invented synthetic soled shoes, rubber soled shoes, plastic soled shoes. And they become very inexpensive compared to leather shoes. Leather shoes, you went to school, if you didn't have the rubber boots with them, then you had to take them off and carry them, because if you got your leather shoes wet, it would destroy them. They'd curl up and ugly stuff, I remember. But anyhow, we invented rubber sole shoes. The first thing we did, and then about 1960, also television was very popular then. And then internet, or we started spending more time indoors because of television. And then in the 1980s, and then the computer came in and so on and so on. So anyhow, we used to spend all of our time outdoors. When I was a kid, I'm in my late 70s. When I was a kid, you couldn't get us into the house. We would rather sleep in the barn than sleep in the house because it was something to do and we could play and whatever. But today, people hardly ever leave the house. So now, and we live in homes where we have carpets and our beds are foam and made of polymers and a lot of our bedding and stuff. And our shoes are insulated too. They don't conduct. So in the morning we get up, we put shoes on, we do whatever, then we go outdoors. So we no longer touch the earth. We are insulated from the earth. So our bodies are no longer naturally grounded. And to help understand, you can't have inflammation in a grounded body. If you go outdoors, put your bare feet on the earth, anchor yourself into the earth, you're grounded. You cannot have inflammation because now your body's going to be flooded with free electrons. Those free electrons are then going to migrate throughout your body and they're going to reduce charge. So you need to understand what inflammation is to make it make sense. Before modern times, bodies were always negative, always had an abundance of free electrons in our body. We were just naturally grounded. All the animals in the wild, for instance, they're all naturally grounded, still are. They don't experience cancer, cardiovascular disease, lupus, MS, autism, or any of the other 100 autoimmune diseases. The animals who live indoors with their owners, they all manifest diabetes, lupus, cancer. 50% of them die from cancer, just like their owners. Animals in the wild don't. Okay, so, grounded animals. So what this is all about is about neutrophils. Neutrophils are a white blood cell. So anytime you have a pathogen or a damaged cell in your body, the immune system will recognize it. Wish I had pictures. And it'll send a neutrophil, and a little neutrophil is kind of a jelly-like cell, and it'll swim over to this pathogen, and then it will wrap itself around it and encapsulate it. And then it will release what we call reactive oxygen species. It will release molecules that have an electron imbalance. They have a shortage of electrons. And then those radicals, those reactive radicals, they will go and rip electrons away from the pathogen or the damaged cell. And that's how the immune system destroys pathogens. It's how it destroys damaged cells. And the body has to get rid of a lot of cells every day. So anyhow, in that process, it's very crude. It's like if you have an ant on the counter and you go over and you take a bottle of acid and you pour it on the ant, and there's plenty of it there to kill the ant, but then occasionally there'll be a little bit of it left over. So these excess or free radicals, or these excess radicals, they have to find something within nanoseconds that they can steal an electron from in order to neutralize their state. They're electrically charged, they're radicals, and they're hot, meaning they can steal electrons. And so if you don't have enough free electrons from the earth floating in your body to mop that up after the immune process, then that radical is going to go over there and steal an electron from a healthy cell, damage it, the immune system, the cell's going to send out, metaphorically, the cell's going to send out a signal to the immune system, hey, something's still here getting me. And so the immune system sends another neutrophil, and the process repeats. So what you have is called oxidation, oxidative stress, or it's like a fire burning a log. So you have a chronic process going on here, and it's a loop. They call it autoimmune disease because the immune system is automatically feeding this fire. It doesn't know that it doesn't have enough electrons. It doesn't know that it's no longer grounded. And so it's just feeding, it's just doing so it's automatically doing what it's supposed to do. The immune system is on autopilot. And so it's feeding a fire that it itself is creating because it doesn't know It doesn't have enough, the body doesn't have enough free radical, negative charge to reduce those radicals and ground them. So, so anyhow, in 1960, we cut off our ground. We know, over a period of 60 years, 70 years, we lost our ground. Not everybody at once, but it's like autism was 1 in 10,000 in 1960. Today, it's 1 in 50 or less. Lupus, MS, cancer, all these things have grown exponentially over the last 70 years. We've spent the last 20 years showing that if you ground them, other researchers were spending all their time saying that you don't have all these diseases you're talking about. You don't have cancer, you don't have lupus, MS, all these things. What you have is chronic inflammation. And that inflammation, which I just described, is manifesting differently in different people based on their lifestyle, their environment, and their genetics. So some people may smoke, so they may have more of a lung issue. Other people may do certain things that cause cardiovascular. Other people may do things that promote cancer. But it's like cancer, you have to have a pocket of inflammation for a few cells to get inside of it to de-differentiate and set themselves up to become a cancer. So, but if you don't have inflammation, that doesn't occur. And if you don't have inflammation, your immune system can go knock that stuff out every day. That's what it's supposed to do. So bottom line is, if you don't have health, then something is interfering with your health. And we know today that is primarily it's inflammation. And inflammation is can be caused by things in your environment, all those kind of things. But what allows the inflammation to get out of hand is your immune system is your body's no longer grounded. So the immune system runs amok and it eats itself up. It oxidizes, it burns itself up. But that oxidation, that burning up, is manifested as lupus in some people, autism in another, diabetes in another, cancer in another. I hope I described that well enough for short.
I think so.
Okay.
And remember,
but go to the Earthing Institute, watch the Earthing movie, read the Earthing book. It's all there.
Yes, I was going to say probably the best place to start is to watch the Earthing movie. You can find it on our YouTube channel.
And it's free, no commercials.
Okay, this is a question about grounding and blue light regarding circadian rhythm. Are there any studies showing the effects or non-effects of blue light exposure after sundown while grounding?
No, we've never done a study of that nature. It is what it is. Our world, everybody's got cell phones. People are sleeping with them. Kids are sleeping with them. TVs are running, all night long sometimes. It's a big issue, big problems. I think grounding will help no matter what, because it's going to help reduce the inflammation, and that's the main problem here. But the issues that come with blue light are somewhat different, and they are significant. And best thing to do is turn your screens off, or get some tinted glasses. That's outside my expertise. I'm going to say
that's it. That's an answer.
I've got grounding down.
Is there any difference in the effects of grounding when you eat a vegan diet versus a meat diet?
Again, that's outside. Everybody has opinions on it.
Yeah.
I know lots of people that are vegan and they had developed the same autoimmune diseases as the people who eat meat. So those two things aren't necessarily promote or reduce inflammation. Eating a diet that has raw food or more healthy food closer to its natural state is better than eating processed food. I think that would be more the issue. But again, I don't want to get into that territory because I don't know enough about it.
Sure.
I do, but I don't dare talk about it.
Does, does earthing benefit kidney stones?
I don't really know. We have had people that have had kidney stones that have passed them. Others who had to go and get them, radiation and blow them up. But again, what caused the kidney stone may be related. But once you have it, that might be a different issue. I don't really know. It's, I think grounding will help prevent them. It's like, grounding when people who have, especially a lot of the older ladies who have osteoporosis, after they start sleeping grounded routinely, then they start laying bone back on, so it restores the calcium and so on. So the only thing I can tell you about grounding for sure is if you can reduce and prevent inflammation in your body, then your body's going to return to normal, and your immune system, it only knows to do one thing: protect the body and maintain health. If you have kidney stones or anything else, then something in your environment caused that. And not being grounded may be part of that.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Shelly has a brain aneurysm. Is it safe for her to use the grounding mat?
Okay, if you have a brain aneurysm, I'm sure you're under doctor's care, at least I hope. And if you're on blood thinners, that's the first question I would ask. If you go to the Earthing Institute, there's some guidance there about anybody that's on blood thinners. But what happens with grounding is we know that it normalizes your blood viscosity, meaning the thickness of your blood. Your blood is more like the animals in the wild. So it's thinner and it can get in and out of the capillaries easier. And you better oxygenate your tissue and all that kind of stuff. But if you are on blood thinners, and the reason they're putting you on blood thinners is because your blood is thick and sticky. And so in order to get your blood to be more thin, more viscous, then they give you a blood thinner. And so if you then start grounding, then your blood can get too thin. If it does get too thin, you'll be able to just snap your finger on your arm and it'll turn red. But on the other hand, you'll be going to the doctor and they'll measure your INR quite frequently if you're on blood thinners. So I would be very cautious about that. I know a little bit about blood aneurysms, and but I would for sure ground myself as much as possible during the day, just barefooting, those kind of things. Pay attention to everything. But first of all, find out if you're on blood thinners. If you're not on blood thinners, it'll be most beneficial for you. If you are on blood thinners, then use caution.
Okay. This is about a baby. So I have a newborn due any moment this week. We're taking the natural route via a midwife. My wife will be grounded with patches and possibly a mat throughout the birthing. Any studies or benefits on specifics on the best grounding practices during labor?
Oh, we have lots of ladies. I'll let you speak to that one.
Yep. Yeah, I was grounded during both of my labors, and the first one, I was just on an earthing mat. My eldest daughter was born on our bed, and I labored on a mat. We had patches, things so when I moved around the house, I could stay grounded. And then my second child was actually born in a birthing tub in her bedroom. And what we did is we took a ground rod, we took 2 ground rods and pushed them, connected the wires. So basically we had 1 ground rod in the tub and we had 1 ground rod sticking out a window into the dirt outside. And we had a very, very rare storm happening. It was just raining. There's all this rain going on. And so the window was open and all I could hear was rain. And it was actually, the window wouldn't have been open if it wasn't for that ground rod. So it actually was, it was perfect. It was a nice backdrop to have that, sound of the rain.
I never heard.
Yeah.
Cool.
And my babies were always grounded. I would every single morning, well, now granted, where I live, it's quite warm, but I would just have them, with just their diaper on and put them on my chest. And we'd go walk around in the backyard on the grass every morning and, as much as we could throughout the day. And, it's hard to ground the baby directly. Obviously, you don't want to use cords and that sort of thing, but it's so easy to ground yourself. And then you can ground the baby. I would hook a patch up to my hand when I nursed. I had my little kit next to the, nursing rocker. And so, yeah, it's very important.
Yep. Nature will take its course.
Yeah. Gosh, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. If I have big health issues, do you recommend grounding as close to 24 hours as possible? Yes. And are the patches better used directly on multiple areas of the body? So would you move the patches all around or just keep them on the hands and feet?
If somebody's health is very compromised, first thing I would do, I would just put them on the feet, put socks on them, tape them on, do whatever you have to do, and sleep with them for a few nights that way. I think you'll find it life-changing. If you have upper respiratory issues, I would first of all do that. Try to stabilize your body as much as possible. You reduce all the inflammation in your body. The blood circulates once a minute. And if you ground both feet, then your blood is going to be circulating. And just in a matter of minutes, you're going to put out the fire of inflammation. Then the immune system can immediately go about starting to repair the damage, and especially the vital damage. Now, some areas will be maybe more trouble than other areas, don't know. But I honestly would just ground your feet and stay grounded 24/7 until you recover, until you get your life back, until your health is restored. The body will heal itself and take care of itself if you will ground it, put the fire out, and then do a few simple things like some sunshine, nice water, eat some food that's close to natural as possible, and do a lot of walking. And get all the stress out of your life. Tell them all to go away. Get well.
Sorry about that. You're going to like this one, Clint. Jeanette had 2 people tell her that her skin looks great. She's been earthing indoors for a few weeks now. How does it affect facial skin?
Well, we did a really nice study on that. We called it, what did we call that? The beauty study? I don't remember. Well, we called it the beauty study, but there's another name for it. Anyhow, what we learned many years ago is I can take any group of women and just put one patch right on the palm of their hand and have them sit there and I don't care whether they've got MS or they're healthy, it doesn't matter. Have them sit there for 20, 30 minutes and be visiting with them about, but have each of them look at each other before, then have each of them look at themselves like 30 minutes later. And I guarantee them they're going to look 10 years younger. And what it is when you thin the blood, when you ground the blood or the body, then your blood becomes more negative, and then the blood cells repel each other, and then they can get into the capillaries, especially the facial capillaries, and oxygenate the tissue, carry out the debris. And so within 20, 30 minutes, your face turns pink, like you're outdoors playing, in the sunshine, like you've seen the kids come in the house and they got those rosy cheeks. Well, that's what you look like after you get grounded for 20, 30 minutes. So that's why we did a test where we were trying to market a pillowcase that was made of silver, pure silver, and as the grounded beauty pillow, because people wanted to, the beauty aspect of it. But the silver pillow didn't hold up, so we had to cancel that until we regroup here. But yeah, so absolutely, you're going to anti-aging, for instance, is a misnomer. Nothing can stop you from aging. So what inflammation is about, you want to reduce inflammation so you age at a normal rate, so you have a better quality of life as life goes on. And what we find with grounding is if you reduce the fire of inflammation, then the first thing you will see is the eyes turn pink, the face turns, skin turns pink, the eyes, they have, it's a glow. I mean, you have kind of a facial glow once you get grounded. And so, yeah, it's like going and getting a facial and a massage and all of that good stuff all at one time and being grounded. So it's awesome. There's a study, by the way, go to the Earthing Institute. There's a study, a very detailed, very in-depth study on the beauty. We call it the beauty study. I don't know what you call it.
I will get that study link and put it into the chat section here.
Cool.
A quick question regarding something you were speaking about earlier. Do you know of any earthing or grounding architects?
I don't off the top of my head. There have been many contact us over the years, especially from back east. Some of the, the new housing in New York and areas like that, they are building the green buildings and things like that. And so we've talked to a lot of them, and it's really about using metal clad, which you have to in some of those buildings. All schools, all office buildings, everybody uses metal clad, shielded wiring. It's only homes in America that they do not do this. And they do it in order to keep the price of the home down about $10,000. But the health cost, nobody knows, But I don't know. I really don't. We probably need to put together a list of those people.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah. Okay. Would grounding be a problem for someone who has metal staples in their body? These staples are made from the metal they used in the 1960s, and because of it, this person cannot have an MRI.
Yeah, you can't have an MRI because it will heat up the metal. But yeah, grounding is perfectly safe. If you can walk barefoot on the earth, grounding is safe.
Is it always better to walk on grass for circulation throughout the body and under the feet rather than just sitting with the feet touching the grass?
Well, I think it's always better to walk if you can. And that's an issue for a lot of older people. And it's a challenge. So I speak to that chair a lot because of that. And a lot of people just don't have time. They just go home and work. They need to relax. But that's what the chair is about. But anytime you can walk, I would highly recommend that you walk, especially if it's just walking in circles, because you're taking in O2, you're getting sunshine. And your body's a fuel cell then, highly energized.
Okay, here's an interesting question, and I'm going to butcher a couple of these names of medications. What if your feet are numb around the toes, which I think is due to overdose of albendazole and fluconazole for my weight? Would sleeping on the earthing mat help, and how long would it take to have normal feeling return?
Again, I would probably, that could be a lot of damage. But I know that the body will recover. So what I would highly recommend, if you're talking about just the feet, I would highly recommend the patches on the feet and wear a sock on, whatever you have to do to keep it on all night. Then that is neuropathy, generally speaking. And it can be caused by many things, but primarily not being grounded, because in nature we were grounded for millions of years, and we only recently put shoes on. And so when you're not grounded, you have poor circulation on the extremities, cold fingers, cold toes. And then a lot of people show it ends up, turning into neuropathy and those kind of things. So if you can ground the feet, then what's going to happen is your feet are going to warm up. Eventually your fingers are going to warm up, and it will, start improving the circulation. And by thinning your blood, or by getting grounded, it's going to help improve, just like the facial study that you were putting up there. It's the same concept that you will read about in the beauty study, the facial study. Thinning your blood, normalizing your blood is going to reduce the inflammation, thin the blood. It's all one and the same, and then the blood can get in and into the capillaries and oxygenate the tissue in your toes, eventually repair. And I don't know how long. Some people it's overnight. Some people it takes a year, depending on how much time they spend grounding.
Okay. How long do you think a child with autism should ground?
24/7. But, if you have to do what's practical. Barefoot as much as possible. Even shoes on in the house. Every time they walk, they're creating static electricity on their body, and that's charge. And that charge is going to, make their nervous system, rattle their nervous system. So wear shoes. Don't wear shoes unless you have to. Wear them on purpose. And then, ground based on the results. If you're getting any results, then you're going to get more results as time goes on. They're going to be healthier. They're going to be happier. And the immune system can help repair some of the damage, hopefully. So 24/7 is my answer. Just like the animals who live in the wild that have health.
Okay, this next question. Have you had any experience with hemorrhoids? Since I've been earthing, they've improved tremendously. They were so bad it was affecting my physical activities. Thank you. I tell my doctors, my dentist, everyone, it's been life-changing. And I ground about 50% of the day. My older kids laugh at me, but I did get one adult child to sleep on one of your mats. I get the best results from sleeping on the mat, and I put a patch on my stomach and one on my foot. I've experimented.
Yeah, you see, that's what you've got to do. I mean, she said something key there. She's grounded 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can tell you, it doesn't matter what's wrong with you. I don't care what's wrong with you. If you will get grounded and stay grounded, put the fire, reduce all the inflammation in your body. So then your immune system can go back, can begin to, instead of spending its time fighting the fire of inflammation and trying to stay alive, then it can go back and then it'll slowly rebuild your body and restore your body to health. It only knows to do one thing, to restore health. That's it. If you don't have health, then something is interfering with your immune system. And we know grounding is a big part of that.
What about spider veins? Do you know if grounding will help spider veins on legs go away?
You'd have to play with that a little bit, I think. Depends on age, depends on a few other things and what, sometimes with age, I mean, entropy is real. And as you get older, then things change and things aren't quite like they used to be. I know. But anyhow, I think the grounding would help. But in fact, I know it would help. But I can't say it's going to make it go away because I don't know. But I do know a lot of people that have spider veins and so on. A lot of them, have water weight and various other issues. And we know that those all clear with grounding. So it's about circulation. It's about, if you have spider veins, then probably, there's a blood thickness issue. By cleaning up, by normalizing blood viscosity with grounding, then that should, put a patch on and find out. Go outdoors, put your feet in the on the grass for an hour, and see if there's any color change.
As you always say, experiment.
Yeah, experiment.
Okay, if one does not have the earthing pillowcase, can the body band be placed open, grounding side up, inside a regular pillowcase for result? This person is trying to help their shoulders and neck, and they only have the body band.
I'm not sure what the body band is. Is it our body band?
I believe it's the large orange body band that we have.
If she would be better off to take a unimat and stick it inside the pillowcase.
Mm.
The orange body band is only that thick. I mean, you can try again, experiment. A lot of people use the unimats inside their pillowcase. A lot of people sleep directly on the unimat with their face on it. Tension in the neck, tension in, yeah. I'm not sure where to go. I mean, it goes back to, again, if you have tension, if you have anxiety, irritability, and that charge on your body, then it's getting grounded is going to help a lot and reduce the inflammation, take the charge off of your body, and that's going to relax your and help with your vagal tone, and that's going to help with all of that. But there's something feeding this tension also, and you probably need to work on that as much as the grounding.
Is sitting on my balcony on the second floor, which is made of concrete, considered grounding?
I would think so, because it's the structure of the building is concrete and steel. The steel and the concrete is connected to the earth. And especially if there's any moisture in the air, humidity in the air, then it would be grounded. And again, throw a cup of water on the deck, put your bare feet on it, it should work perfectly.
Okay, we have a couple questions that are kind of like this person's. How does the grounding mat compare to grounding outside on the earth? Is it the same thing?
They're identical. That's what the grounding mats were about. When we did our original studies, in order to ground people, we had to create these ground planes, what we call ground planes, because everybody wore shoes and they were always moving around. So the only time we could ground people is when they were either sitting. So we'd sit them on a mat or put their feet on a mat while they were sitting. And that's where those mats came from. Or during sleep, we had to have something for them to sleep on. And that was the best time we found for doing our tests and our studies and stuff, because they don't move. And what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Is the grounding mat and grounding on the earth identical?
Right. So what we did with these mats is we tried to, because we couldn't do testing outdoors, not very easily, that we had to ground indoors. So we would measure the mats against the earth. They were identical in, they're equal with the earth at earth potential. So that means when you sit on them, lie on them, stand on them, or whatever, then your body will equalize with the earth. It will be at earth potential. It will have the same amount of electrons pro rata as the body and the earth will equalize.
Excellent. Can earthing do anything for migraines?
Well, migraines are, usually a tension. I mean, there's something causing it, and it has to do with your environment or something. Grounding will definitely reduce the blood, improve the blood viscosity, improve the circulation, and you'll be able to have a better O2 uptake. Your oxygen uptake increases when you're grounded. And so those two things should definitely, help relieve what's going on. But again, there's something else going on, and there's a muscle in there that's probably squeezing because there's some issue that needs to be dealt with, or stressor that's out there chewing on somebody or something.
Mhm.
You need to remove the stress and get grounded and be happy.
Donna's asking if we sell floor tiles. No.
We don't, but you can find them online. If you look to the ESD, electrostatic discharge industry, we call it ESD industry or anti-static industry or anti-static carpet, ESD carpet tiles. Just use the word anti-static carpet tiles on Google, and you'll find a half a dozen companies that have them available. They run $4 or $5 a tile, and they're probably, I think they're 24 inches, 4 square feet. And what you do is you can, spread some bare copper wire on the floor, just tape it down. So you have a nice grid going back and forth, and then connect it to a ground. And then you just take the tiles and you lay them on top, boom, boom, boom. And they're automatically conductive. And so they eliminate all the static or all of the electrical noise in the room. And then when you stand on them, you're grounded. They have also regular carpet tile or regular tiles also.
All right, Clint. I think that's about it for today. I like how we built a grounded home in our webinar today. There seems to be a lot of interest on that. We had one person ask, and next thing you know, we had a flood of those kinds of questions. So
yeah, it's important. I think somewhere down the road, first of all, we got to get the shoes out there and get everybody grounded that way, so that they can experience, everybody can experience it affordably. Then the people whose health is compromised, they need to be sleeping grounded, whatever. But ultimately, 20 years from now, they need to be seriously considering the way we build homes. And we need to, if being grounded, being in contact with the earth electrically is part of our immune system, or is what maintains our immune system electrically stable, then we have no option. We have to ground our buildings, we have to ground our floors, our shoes, wherever we sit, sleep, or walk has to be grounded, because the earth is part of our, it's what maintains the electrical stability of the body. When you get grounded, you stay grounded, then all things return to normal.
very good. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Clint, for answering all the questions.
Anytime, that's what I do. Best.
Yes, I do go in order on the questions. So if you can, the earlier you log in, the more likely you are to have your question answered. If you haven't done so already, we highly recommend that you follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel, so you can make sure you're in the loop regarding our upcoming webinars, sales, and new product announcements. Also be sure to check out the Earthing movie on our YouTube channel. And you can also watch this and all previous webinars for lots of information.
Too much information.
Yeah. Well, thank you to my customer service team, and thank you to everybody here watching and to everybody who submitted questions. And thank you to you, Clint.
All right. See you all later.
Have a good night.
Good night.